What's up, everybody? It's that time again. Twin Peaks, Season 3, Episode 12. And before I get started, I'd like to say that if you haven't noticed, I'm quite a big fan of the show, needless to say, but my loyalty to the series does not blind my judgment when it comes to the quality of individual episodes. And I have to say that despite a few promising segments, this is probably the weakest episode, I think, so far this season, that as far as I'm concerned. And it's ironic because it was like hardly anything going on with Dougie Cooper. I mean, we had this scene where he's throwing a ball, or Sonny Jim's trying to teach him how to play catch, and that was it. So, I mean, they had so much time to focus on other stuff that probably could have been, a lot more important. And then we got kind of quite a few, kind of so what type scenes. But we'll deal with those as they come. Let's get started with the review. So Albert basically fills in Agent Preston about Project Blue Book, which is something that was mentioned in several episodes in the original run. I think mostly it was in season 2, because the main antagonist of the second season was working for, I guess, was a loaner from the FBI to the Air Force to work on Project Blue Book, but it was pretty much a means by which Wyndham Earle, the antagonist, was trying to locate the Black Lodge. So whenever his interest had peaked where this topic is concerned. So yeah, Project Blue Book, I haven't looked into it as far as, in real life, as far as any official UFO related investigations as far as the military or whatnot. So like I said, I'm ignorant of it as far as if it's based on a real life or not. So anyway, so apparently he's saying that it was shut down as a part of a cover-up. We haven't really had any unidentified flying objects or other, space-related or sci-fi type elements to the show that would suggest UFOs. But I imagine the paranormal could possibly fit into that, since, like we know, Major Briggs was, and to some capacity is still, or up till his death, of course, was observing the woods around Twin Peaks because of the signals that they were getting from the woods, specifically from the lodges, which were coming over radio frequencies or whatnot. So they actually had messages in there that were, coherent, like the owls are not what they seem, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's kind of the big, as far as the government interest and the FBI interest in what's been going on lately, is based on that Project Blue Book. So that'll get up to speed to that if you didn't remember all of that from the previous episodes. So basically, when that Project Blue Book got shut down, the FBI and military, Air Force, off the records, perhaps, formed their own group to investigate some different cases that had not been completed or solved. And basically, like you said, they named the Blue Rose is kind of was mentioned in the beginning of the movie, because the weird kind of girl or in the dress had the that was doing the kind of the little kind of I don't know, mime routine or something at the beginning, had a blue rose on, and Agent Chet Desmond wouldn't tell Kiefer Sutherland's character what the blue rose meant, because it's top secret type stuff. But the blue rose in the movie was the ring from that the denizens of the lodge handed out to these like Teresa Banks and Laura, who were their intended victims. So that was it was kind of a, that, I don't know, something with the kind of a supernatural connection to it. But there's multiple. I'm assuming from this discussion that there's multiple blue roses. It's blue rose is just the I guess not necessarily the mystery itself, but something that some kind of object, or maybe a location or something that the discovery of requires a little bit more of a different approach, an unorthodox approach. That's why they were saying, Albert was saying that the path that they've taken is unique to, trying to figure out these cases. And he mentions Philip Jeffries again, who was, played by David Bowie, of course, in the movie, and he had been missing for almost 2 years, and showed back up at the Philadelphia office, and he had been in contact with a woman named Judy, who if we understand correctly, was in Seattle, Washington, and had I think stumbled upon some Black Lodge denizens,
activity. Because Philip mentioned that he had gone to one of their meetings above a convenience store, like they had occupied, and mentioned in one of Dale's dreams that they were in a convenience store, or a kind of a loft above a convenience store. Is where they had their meetings. So Philip was on the track of cracking that case, and trying to find out where the source of these beings was. So that was kind of got him kind of sucked in, because Judy was his contact, and we don't really know what happened to Judy. She's just mentioned by name as far as in the movie. So maybe there'll be some more on Philip Jeffries, but in the show he's still alive, because they've you have that, was it Ray Monroe contacting him? So I'm not sure if they'll show him or have another actor play him. Like I said in a previous episode, David Bowie was supposed to make a cameo or an appearance, but passed away, unfortunately. So maybe they will just allude to him. But yeah, so a lot of incidents. Of course, the Black Lodge, at least the place where the entrance is located in the woods in Ghostwood Forest. So there's a lot of activity around Washington State, where of course Twin Peaks is located. I mean, Teresa Banks was not all that far off from Twin Peaks. Then we had, of course, Laura Palmer, and there may be other incidences around. So it makes sense, though, because there's a lot of activity, because Seattle is not that far from where the location of Twin Peaks is. And so yeah, he's basically filling her in and letting her know that we were reminded Chet Desmond and Agent Cooper were brought into the fold. Chet Desmond disappeared, no idea where he is or if he's still alive. Cooper, of course, we know that he's still kind of somewhat out of it, as the Dougie Cooper, and with his doppelganger still running loose. So Agent Preston is up to speed on that, and basically is brought into the fold, which is pretty cool. Now they can speak candidly to her about a lot of this stuff. Maybe give us some more information on what they're specifically looking at right now. All right, so after Agent Preston gives the 2 thumbs up as far as her joining, Diane comes in and notice that she's walking through drapes or curtains that are red. So some little symbolism there, kind of, and then she's wearing that
bright red dress, so it's almost like I don't know. It just kind of made me think of one of the denizens of the lodge, or somebody that's in cahoots with them. It's coming through those curtains. It just seemed kind of appropriate since she's playing both sides. Looks like, and apparently they want to deputize her, and include her within the investigation. But of course they're setting her up to, or at least trying, keeping an eye on her texts and so forth. So I don't think she's aware of what they're doing, which, but yeah, I think eventually she'll meet up with Doppelganger Dale at some point. Like I said, Las Vegas is a possible meeting place if they have to go there according to the text she receives. But yeah, so hopefully within the next episode or so, we'll get a little more activity from Doppelganger Dale, and maybe be leading us along the trail to our final destination, which I assume is Twin Peaks. Back in Twin Peaks, Sarah Palmer, played by Grace Zabiskie, is loading up on her Bloody Mary mix and Smirnoff vodka for Bloody Marys, and then buying her cigarettes. But she's definitely kind of has lost it a bit, and it's not to be not surprising. I mean, she lost her daughter and her husband and her niece. And basically, I'm assuming is still, attuned to the paranormal, and is trying to kind of, I think, kind of self-medicate with all that, smoking and drinking, and she loses it a bit when she gets up to the checkout counter. So, not quite sure what she's alluding to, but perhaps she's kind of foreshadowing the events yet to come, where everyone finally gathers back in Twin Peaks after all this time. So maybe she's kind of getting a feeling or a vibe that something's big's gonna happen. All right, so we get kind of a no big deal type scene with Carl at the trailer park. Nothing really to go on there, and then Sonny Jim trying to teach Dougie Cooper how to play catch, and I think that it's the only scene he's in this whole episode. And then we're back at Twin Peaks. Hawk pays Sarah a visit. We see that fan turning in the ceiling. That imagery that we saw a lot during the show and in the movie. That fan, those stairs that she was running down. And whatnot. So that staircase and that fan are just kind of, symbolic, kind of, I don't know if you'd say iconic, but, they were that, imagery was, or that scene and that location was used quite a bit during the show. Yeah. So, apparently there was a little noise in the kitchen. Not sure exactly what that was. She says it wasn't a person, but I don't know. Interesting. And then she says, this is some kind of goddamn bad story, Hawk. So the story continues, perhaps. She's, like I said, she's a psychically tuned, and so is Hawk to a degree. Or at least he has a strong intuition with where a lot of this stuff is going. So yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping that Sarah plays a part, and we don't just see her as kind of the broken woman, because I don't know, it'd be kind of a waste of the character. But yeah, of course, Hawk figures something is up. But what can you do? She's not being overly cooperative. So at the hotel lobby or lounge, Diane gets a text about something about Las Vegas from Doppelganger Dale, and then we move on to the Great Northern, where Sheriff Truman lets Ben know that his grandson is pretty much SOL once they find out where he's at, and then
he is given the key to Cooper's old room, which, they both kind of a strange coincidence that it showed up after all these years. I'm still hoping, I'm curious if they're going to actually go back in there and look for any clues or anything, or it's just kind of a symbolic thing. But yeah, so not all that much going on there. And then Ben Horne reminisces about a bicycle and, kind of another kind of ho-hum scene. At the hotel, Gordon is entertaining a lovely young lady with some of his stories about, action and adventure in the FBI, and Albert comes in. The scene drags out in typical Lynch fashion, and of course, Albert is none too amused, and Gordon tells a really bad joke, and Albert's just like staring at him, like he just says he's just speechless. It's like he doesn't. It's like there's some, he's completely calm, but and he's almost like in his mind is about to, his steam out of his ears or his head explode from. He doesn't suffer stupidity lightly, or something that's annoying, like Gordon can be at times. Albert relays the text, and they've got some stuff to figure out. So Doppelganger Dale's minions snipe the warden, take him out of action. So no loose lips to sink the ships for that one. Poor kid has to see his dad dead on the on the patio or walkway. Yeah, not much to that scene. Then we get Dr. Jacoby doing his Alex Jones impersonation again, and Nadine zombified looking at this television screen, just kind of zoned out. Yeah, so nothing much there that we haven't seen before. And this next scene, look who we have here. Well, Miss Audrey Horne, and I almost didn't recognize her. I don't know if she's had some work done on her nose or something. Just didn't recognize her right away. And apparently she's married to some. I don't know what that story is behind that. Guy's like almost a little person. He's probably barely 5 foot if he stood up. He doesn't look like he's a very tall person. And apparently there's somebody named Bobby that's run off or is missing. And to be honest, I hope that this scene pans out to something, because I mean, it was kind of humorous, but I mean, for Audrey's first, appearance and screen time, it was kind of like a complete waste. I don't really understand what was really going on here, other than it seems like she's trying to get a divorce or something, because she's, like this other guy, and he's finds out some information from the gal that he calls. And so, yeah, I was, since Richard Horne is Ben Horne's grandson, I thought they were going to use the scene to bring up that, Richard was her son, or, or something like that. And she found out or something, but no, just some guy named Billy. I don't know. Yeah, it was kind of a waste of a scene. I wasn't really all that impressed. And then we get Diane trying to, or at least memorizing the coordinates that was on Ruth Davenport's arm. She puts them into the cell phone, and lo and behold, it zooms in on Twin Peaks. Whatever coordinates she had on her arm were leading them back to where it all began, which makes sense. I didn't think they were gonna, possibly try to send it to another place other than where it all originated. They gotta get back there, and there's not too many episodes left, so I have a feeling that they'll probably wrap up the Vegas thing in the next episode, or maybe 2, and then hopefully they'll spend 2 or 3 episodes at the end to getting around where Twin Peaks is the focus with all the main cast. I guess we'll have to see if that's the case or not. Hopefully it is. And then we close out, of course, with another kind of indie band that, and a conversation going on at the bar. I don't know, I guess it maybe if you,
I don't know if there's what the relevance is to it. You know, maybe it's if you watch like each one of these conversations that take place at the end, you know, in a row or whatever, that there's a continuity with what the people there are talking about. Or maybe I'm just completely missing it, but of what it's about. But yeah, it seems like it's just kind of, oh, we're at the Roadhouse. You know, we're winding down the episode. Here's another, you know, indie pop or rock band playing, and you know, it's kind of the theme of the ending that they've used quite a few times. So yeah, I was pretty disappointed with this episode, especially with you know, we start right off with, you know, Albert and Gordon, you know, kind of bringing Tammy into the fold. I was hoping that they would, you know, we'd have some longer info dump, if you will, as far as what was taking place, you know, in currently how it's connected to the past. Because yeah, I mean, if this is another Blue Rose case, you know, and we know that there was all that activity going on in New Mexico, you know, there's got to be some way they can connect the two, because you know, that's because of that, we know that's kind of the catalyst for all this. But we didn't really get too much of that. So yeah, this was kind of almost like a filler episode, it seemed like. So not too pleased. Yeah, so yeah, I can criticize the show as much as I can praise it, but I will not be rewatching this unless I need to get some specific details, because yeah, it was pretty bland. You know, it's kind of a shame that they decided to get away from the Dougie Cooper part and all that, because they pretty much wrapped that up, unless Tom Sizemore's character tries to off him. But yeah, anyway, I'm not going to complain too much more about it, but you know, if you guys thought there was any more value in it than I did, you know, feel free to throw some comments down in the comment section. That's about it for this one. Don't forget, I've also got a Patreon account now. I'll leave a link in the description if you would like to donate. You know, otherwise, you know, not obligatory, but you know, at least leave some comments, and down in the comment section, you know, give the video a thumbs up if you thought the review was worthwhile, and hopefully the next episode I review will be a lot better than this one. Take it easy, everybody.